the world of bodybuilding, there are many perfectly shaped bodies that impress with either great mass or ideal proportions and aesthetics. However, only a small percentage of the population is predisposed to reach such a level. In today's material, I'm going to show you the worst results of people without the right genes trying to achieve the muscle mass of a Mr. Olympia. Let's start with a man who was my inspiration for this episode, with a monstrous midsection that extends not only sideways but also forwards and vertically, as the stomach seems far too long compared to the limbs. It can be said that this is the result of a weak body structure with rather wide hips and short limbs, combined with the desire for large muscle mass and the use of various supplements, as well as the consumption of large amounts of food. This body nevertheless shows an enormous amount of work. In terms of the definition of the individual areas, it looks quite good. In addition, the muscles are toned and well shaped, but unfortunately, with a waistline like this, the overall picture, which is what this is all about, is clearly visible to everyone. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find out who this bodybuilder is and at which competition this photo was taken. If you know who it is, feel free to leave his name in the comments. This is Cesar Mendible and his abs and thighs pose that caught my attention. A truly fatal midsection that not only extends over the sides above the hips, but also shows completely uneven and asymmetrical ankles. The whole thing is accompanied by a very strong white line, which creates a remarkable separation of the abdominal muscles. Mendible has nevertheless made it to a profile on the website Muscle and Fitness, where you can read that he competed at a weight of 129 kilograms. In addition, all signs point to him having an IFBB Pro card, as in 2012 he placed 16th at the PBW Championships Tampa Pro, which was won by Sean Roden at the time. If you look at other photos of him, this bodybuilder doesn't have such a big belly as his predecessor, but the physique is less defined, or rather less proportioned, and doesn't look as hard. Nevertheless, you have to admit that he looks more massive. Let's move on to Kenny O'Neill, a bodybuilder whose popularity exploded in the year 2016 after a competition in Canada, just like his shoulders. Was it synthol, implants, or perhaps inflammation? We don't know for sure. Before I present his version of the situation, it's worth mentioning that alongside his failed shoulder muscles, he also presents a tragic midsection that visually diminishes the other muscle areas. Apart from that, his form in general also leaves a lot to be desired, as he looked very spongy on stage. The shoulder muscles are his best and biggest part, offering the most meat to inject various substances into. Unfortunately, the injections caused inflammation that made his shoulders swell, as can be seen in the photos. In the interview he gave for RX Muscle, his self-confidence was remarkable. He explained that he was aiming for the pro card in this competition and wanted to show something special on stage. He also said that he is involved with many things in his life and that bodybuilding is a side benefit that he can showcase. I don't know what else he does and what he might not be so good at, but I would definitely think twice before using his services. This is Hani Salib. How does he train his belly button? Asks a Reddit user under the picture shown. Apart from this element, however, the center doesn't look too bad compared to the figures shown previously. The biggest point of criticism is the unusual, almost square shape of the muscles, their lack of separation, and the torn muscle areas that mess up the symmetry. The damaged left pectoral muscle and the deformed left shoulder, with injuries to both the biceps and triceps, are striking. Nick's Strength and Power did a feature on him entitled Everything Wrong with Bodybuilding and portrayed him as personifying the potential side effects of the sport. What I think should be mentioned, however, is the obvious abuse of synthol or the use of some kind of implant. Hani Salib is also a wrestler and performs under the name Melvin Maximus. The IWD website, an online wrestling database, states that he has wrestled 168 matches to date, the last one on the 26th of November 2022. Let's move on to the man known as the King of Palumboism, or the worst example of this disease in the history of bodybuilding, Big Lenny, 193 centimeters tall and 154 kilograms out of season. On stage, however, his weight is listed around 140 kilograms. It's hard to comment on this figure in any way, but it's worth pointing out the truly surprisingly long list of his participations. On YouTube, you can find footage of him posing in NPC competitions as far back as 2004, where you can see that the character of the silhouette was the same as it is today. You can also find videos from 2006, 2014, or 2017. So anyone who thought that Lenny was accidentally allowed on stage was probably wrong. Big Lenny may be called the king of Palumboism, but he is certainly not its, let's say, inventor. Without a doubt, it is Dave Palumbo. In terms of bodybuilding level, you can't deny his great hardness and rugged appearance combined with a prominent muscle mass. However, such a midsection has completely messed up the proportions and overall shape of his physique. This is an example of what a bodybuilder can look like who has done everything to become a world-class athlete, but does not have good genetics. However, he never managed to achieve professional status. He competed from 1990 to 2004 and performed in 27 events during those 14 years. At his first competition in 1990, he weighed 76 kilograms at a height of 175 centimeters. His heaviest weight, on the other hand, was 127 kilograms in 1998. It's easy to calculate that he gained around 51 kilograms of muscle mass in 8 years. Finally, the undoubtedly most successful bodybuilder on this list, who by the way is considered by many to be the strongest bodybuilder of all time. Whether this is rightly seen that way would have to be analyzed in a separate episode. Either way, until his physique got completely out of hand, he could look really good. He combined tremendous mass with good proportions, but unfortunately that changed over time. His form in recent performances looked like the attached picture. Here is his form from the Toronto Pro 2005. He was 38 years old at the time, and apart from his obviously very noticeable Palumboism, his form left a lot to be desired. In the back poses, you could see sagging skin and his lower areas were completely blurred. He looked just as unspectacular at the Arnold Classic. On stage, he weighed 152 kilograms and had legs that were far too narrow in relation to the rest of his body. The aforementioned appearance at the Toronto Pro in 2005 was his last, after which he apparently rightly decided to end his career. Let us know in the comments who you think tops the ranking of the worst silhouettes in bodybuilding.